Is Restream thinks we're streaming. Great. The moment I press start, the fireworks start. Great. Alright. Twitch thinks we're streaming. YouTube is thinking about it. Okay, I think YouTube agrees finally. Alright, welcome to Code Hangouts number 215. The debug proxy really has got to go. Last time we realized that it might not be as easy as replacing with Nginx. So today I want to take a closer look at Debugproxy itself. And it's so debuggy that it doesn't even have a Git repo. It's never been put into Git. So I have no diffs, etc. All of that is pretty terrible. And I'm not sure if I should start tracking it now, or rather if I should like add it to something else, at least for the work I want to do now. So I'm gonna take a quick look and see if it makes sense to include it with one of the other repos, such as sudoku.app, which is kind of the sudoku server, or probably with Sven codes. Yeah, in fact, there's a debug proxy in Sven codes, so I'm wondering if that's the one I'm actually using, not the one in debug proxy itself. So it's probably this one. Yeah, okay, that's fine. It's just a small script. So that's probably the one I actually want to look at, and not the one I was just poking at. All right, so we established last time that Debugproxy basically manages the SSL certificates for the entry point, and then has a bunch of configurations of redirects. What an ideal version of this would look like is basically having these in a file and have the script be very simple. Read all this in from a configuration file, and that's it. So initially, probably the best step to start with is to just create a config file and start moving things into it and read that. So let's have a look here. I guess right now we could just put it right here, at least while we're developing it, right? So we'll save this as proxy conf.json, right? And then let's have a look of how the whole thing starts up. So so this is basically our startup, and we'll probably want to make that into a function. So we'll just do something like function async function start proxy, boom, and then we'll just move that in here. And then here we'll just do that. So also means we want to go Sven codes, and we want to check what the script is for testing this one. So npm run test proxy. All right. So because I knew that I had it set up so I could test it locally, which means it's missing the SSL files, but it'll still start up. So step one is to see if I can get it to run without SSL. It has all these redirects, and I think it might be looking for it. It might accept some localhost testing stuff. Yeah. So if I go to localhost 8, for example, is that gonna work? Okay, so that seems to go through here. All right, let's log some things out so we can see, oh yeah, this is working and it's doing the thing, right? So let's see, where are the vhosts loaded? Handle server upgrade, match root, vhosts. Basically this, right? So if I do this, and maybe if I just pull one specific file, so let's say we're just pulling the scripts file. So we get the scripts, we got the stupid Chrome DevTools JSON call. I wonder if I should disable that just to get rid of the spam in the logs. Like, can I get rid of that? Can I get rid of that? If I do this, refresh that. Would fetch project settings in the form of from a well-known URI on local debugging targets. So that's disabled. I need to relaunch. Oh, well, I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, and then we have FFIC and all this sort of stuff. So in the config, we might also want to have some details for logging and maybe exclusions. So that's the sort of thing I wanted to get out of Nginx, really. Okay, so we know that's a vhost match. So it kind of does a fall through. It says first, is this an ACME challenge? No. If it's a HTTPS TTPS redirect, URL redirect, www, and vhost, right? So let's create a little bit of a to-do list here. So order of routing. So the first thing it does is ACME challenge. The second it does is HTTPS redirects. The third it does is URL redirects. Then it does www redirects. And finally it does vhost. Now, ideally what I would do is that these 5 categories are all the same thing, and then it'll just has a set of routes, and whichever one gets matched first, right? The only, yeah, and then things like this would be a tag on the route. So for example, these URL and www redirects are very similar. So what I really want to do is I want to take all these lines and turn them into little config blocks. So it's not just an AB, key value pair, but it's actually an array of things that we can do, right? And we'll probably maybe start from the top. So for example, ACME challenge, because that one is used for let's encrypt. And then what does ACME challenge do differently from the other ones? So we'll have ACME challenge handle vhost. So that's like a vhost handler. So what's the difference between URL redirects and www redirects? Let's look at these two. So handle URL redirect and handle www redirect. We have this and we have this. So the first line is the same. The second line is almost the same. The third line so new host name. Request URL. www redirect always forces HTTPS. Is that valid though? Because we probably want to do first the HTTPS redirects, and then we don't want to force the HTTPS. We want to pull that out of the headers, if it's HTTPS or HTTP. Except I think there was a problem with that, and for some reason I couldn't access that. All right, let's have a look at the difference between these two, what they look like. Because this one says anything that matches this domain name. So how does it match it though? URL redirects. We'll do match route. URL redirects, match route. So match route does what? Routes, target route, root route. I'm not sure. Vote in the comments. So, let me know if you can hear the fireworks. Oh, my nose itching. My nose itching. Okay, so I tried. I'm gonna need a slightly more easier way of logging these things. So for example, if I just do console.log match route, and then I refresh this, I'll probably get a bunch of these. So we probably want to first exclude a bunch of stuff. And ironically, I'm first going to add that in a messy way until we have like a cleaner way of adding separate route handlers. So let's see. The request. What does full URL look like for these spurious requests? So it's something like this. Why do we get a double slash on the fav icon? That's stupid. But we can do something like here. So if const ignore URLs equals boom, we have something like that, right? And then we can say if ignore URLs dot includes full URL, we'll just do return. We'll basically just do this for now. And here we'll do console.log, ignore that. If I do this, we'll get an ignore here. And we can do the same thing here. If I do this, it'll only do that one, and then we can just comment this out for now. And then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 match routes. Now, if I do this, what does that look like? Target route, okay. I do this, what does that look like? And I don't see everything here. Gotta bring it back on the screen. Can you guys see the bottom line here on this thing? Till here, okay. We're gonna refresh this. It wraps now. Oh, so, okay. So match route this. What are these all about though? Oh, it's the other ones. All right. So it always tries to match all 5, or is it just because this is one of the ones that falls true to the handle we host? So yeah, we want to say if the match actually happened. If return route handler. So console.log matched. Something like that. But then why does it keep going? Why does it keep going? Shouldn't it return something positive here? if I put the route handler here, what would that look like? Oh, undefined. So if I do that, now it'll get one matched at the end. Okay. All right. And that one is a vhost match. So the vhost, okay, so we'll probably do that one first then, because that's the one we can replicate the easiest. So vhost takes a URL that matches we should be able to tell what it matches against, right? Because the match would happen here. So console.log match A match B. And the difference is it checks if it's a string or regular expression, right? If root key equals target route, if test root key now these two lines are the same, so we should be able to just combine these, right? This line is the same as that line, and either time we break. Okay. So we could do the can we do the inverse? No, right? Because if I say if these are not equal, continue, it doesn't work because it's got to be an or. So we should be able to do this. If this, right? Or that and that, right? I think that's all of these. Then we can do this. Match 0. So now it should always be a match 0. The other two shouldn't be necessary anymore. So that's just our are we matching this route? Are we using anything other than root key here? So we could make a function here, const test root. And then here we'll have a key target, right? And it'll be this statement basically. So root key becomes that. And then target becomes that and that. All right. So we could just do this. Something like that. Now, if we can say if test root key target route, we'll do that. And then that should just match 0, and then we don't need any of this stuff. Okay. Now, if route handler So currently we're relying on this assignment to check after the fact. So here now we can just return right away. It's much easier. So we can just put that in here. Else we return route handler. We don't even need to break. And then here we'll just return false. Right? And we don't need that up here. That's a little bit constant as well. Okay, so that just maintains, I don't know if this is a good match function, but it maintains the previous functionality, which is what we're looking into. Hey, Keaton. Route. Route. Yeah, I'm kind of torn because I'm neither. And in computer science, the Americans have sort of set the standard for programming languages and the typos in refer and color without a U and all that. But I don't know. Sometimes smacks of laziness. Okay, so we have got our route match. I'm just going to call it route. Once we have our route match, we need what I want to do is I want to turn this into a single match route with a long list of things that have different sort of arguments and handlers in it. So match route, or match route, vhost or full URL. So this checks full URL and host name separately. Ugh, I don't know if I like that. So full URL, host name, host. So we could probably do full URL all of them and then host name all of them. Or we want to do full URL, then host name, full URL, then host name, so we can have a priority matching from the top down and then exit out when we match a route. I think that's probably the actual functionality we need. And like these two are so similar already. Like these parts are the same. The only difference is how the target URL is being constructed. I think in the moment I'm just going to bring them in just all together with like different types sort of thing and then handle it that way. Like I think this mechanism we can do for all of these. So let's see if we can actually pull this apart into this. Oh wait, what the heck? Ah, okay. Match route full URL or match route this. Fair enough, okay. I mean, I'm trying to think, is this gonna be slower if I go through the whole list for all of them? I think it's still effectively the same mechanism, even if it's in a singular list. Yeah, because we're still kind of doing it. As long as the priorities are in the same order. Program, yeah. Well, those are pronounced the same, so I'm not too worried about that when I'm just talking. All right, so vhosts just feeds them in as the key value pair, and then here routes, it thinks of root keys. So the first thing is what it matches. And then target route. How does it? Oh, because it returns what it matches against. Ah, yeah. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So, I'm guessing what I really want to do then is I'm gonna do something like const roots, and then that's gonna be an array, right? And then it's gonna basically have these in here. Because can the key can be a regular expression, but it'll be a string. Yeah, because I've done, I mean, I have a better server, this one, right? And here the roots are handled like that. So I basically gonna rebuild this in the proxy server for now. Yeah, so I want to have them as an array. The question is, do I want to rewrite these by hand? Probably not. So I'm gonna do this here. Or here even, better. So we're gonna do console.log json.stringify vhost. So if I do this, right, it'll output a bunch of stuff here. And then if I do null like that, it'll do this, right? And then we'll do text.entries like that. Then we'll do map key value. And we'll do that. And then we'll do route would be key, and then target would be value. No. Entries. Wait a second. This should just get me an array of 2 elements each. Oh, yeah. So I want to do this. Right, so we get that as the root, and that as the target. So this localhost at the end, for example, is just this. Okay. Do I want to be able to shorten them? Kind of like this. So basically what I'm thinking is kind of to have something like type vhost and then handler like that, right? And then because it's type vhost, it knows to handle this as however the vhost handler does it. I'm just trying to think, because I have like a pretty printer that puts this in a better way. Okay, so if I do this with vhost, and now we'll do something similar with the others. So, for example, if we do this, and those are an array after all. So, we'll just do that. Right, and then we'll want to map these. So that'll be HTTPS, and that'll be just that. That's kind of what these would look like. And then we have these. I mean, I'm seeing only 4 here. Oh, Acme Challenge. Let's do Acme Challenge as well. So that'll be this sort of thing, right? And it'll look very similar to this. Yeah, and then that one I'll rewrite it to actually be, because now then we can have actual regular expressions instead of strings here. Although I don't know if we can store these in JSON. We'll see about that. All right, so we have Acme Challenge. Priority-wise, these should be above the vhosts. Actually, we don't want to go by the order they are here. We want to go by this order, right? So we have Acme, HTTPS, URL, www, and vhosts last. We want to do Acme, HTTPS redirects. Then we want to do URL redirects. So, they'll be like this. Type URL handler. Maybe we'll just call these route. Boom. Route. Handler. So that'll be that. And this will be just route. Okay. And finally, that'll be www redirect. And that'll look like that, right? And then what we can do is we should be able to just put these all end to end like that. Like that. And that'll get us one giant list. And then I will guess I'll manually tidy that up. Probably what we want to do here is we'll map that. So we'll do map row without all of that. If we do this, do that. All right, and then we'll do join like that. Like that. Now the question is, can I get these onto one screen? This does not feel like enough. These do not feel like they're all the routes we're gonna have in here. So let's verify. We have the Acme Challenge. We have the we have the Acme Challenge here. Oh yeah, then we have the HTTPS redirects. Now, obviously, this doesn't include the commented out items, but that's okay. I'm also probably gonna have to double check this against what's live, because I might have made manual changes in the live server. Then we have the URL redirects. www, the vhosts are the last ones. Okay. So if I take this and put this under const routes for now. Right? So that should load without too much hassle. But hassle, I mean errors. It just has the errors from the missing SSL certificates, right? So now And we can't even have ignores, right? So we could have the ignores at the top. So if I reload this, we get to here. So what I can do now is... So do we want to full URL match everything first and then hostname match everything? Or do we want to do full URL and then hostname for each one? Because some of these, they only do hostname, and some of them, they only match full URL. Well, let's see what the results are. So before, and let's do this before your ignore. If I do this, we'll do full URL, and then we'll do match routes. Oh, yeah, and now we need a new match route, obviously. Well, let's call it that for now. We don't actually care about the type of route here. We don't actually care about the route here. So we'll just go through the routes. So we'll do for const route or for const route off routes, right? And then if we do test route target route, we'll just return route. And then we don't need any of this stuff here. Right. And then we can do match route to full URL. Full URL. All right. And now if I load this, match route to full URL comes back as false. Okay. And match route to hostname comes back as Spring 5. Yeah, I need to convert this somehow so I can see what's actually coming out of there. So we either get a false or we get the string localhost. Let's do it like this. Trying to make it less confusing for myself. It should just return. Oh no, yeah, we don't want to return route. So because now it returns this, so we know it's a vhost, and you know it's a handler, yada yada yada, right? And then after we have a match, so I'm trying to think, is this wasteful to match both of these? I think I need match route to pass both in. How is hostname calculated? Does that come from full URL? No, full URL adds something. So we kind of want to have full URL and hostname separately here, right? And then we want to check hostname first, I guess. No, full URL is always going to be more restrictive, so we want to check that one first. If tester and blah 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 full URL return item. Or if matches hostname. So if it matches either the full URL or hostname, then return the item. Otherwise, we return false. And then we don't need to call it twice. We'll just do match route. And we pass in full URL and hostname in that order, right? Let's change the order full unit root first, because that's the order in which we're going to be matching them. In fact, I don't need to distinguish them, right? We could just make this an array. Right. So, Ooh, no. I don't call this str. So, if the reason I'm hoo-hawing is because I want to check if this is an array, and if it's not an array, but I don't want to have to, like, if there's 100 roots, I don't want to have to do 100 array checks. That doesn't make sense, right? So maybe we'll make it always an array. So, match list if not array dot is array match list, then match list equals an array that contains match list. And then we'll just say for match of match list if test route match return item. Right. And then we can just pass in an array of these two items. And then it'll just be full URL first, hostname second. And we can still just pass in one item as well, and it should be too much of a hassle dealing with these, right? So here it matches, and the ignores because the ignores happen after match route 2. Oh, okay, so they were down here. Yeah, so this one matches, that would just redirect to here, and that would redirect to here as well. Okay, that's fine. So maybe we'll do the ignores as well as a handler. So we could just add these up here. It'll be basically this. Boom. And then type ignore. Boom. Right? Don't know why these are double slashed here. So if I do this, and then I can get rid of the ignore code that I just added. Like that. Well, not like that. Like that. Right. Okay. Let's do a little little closure here. Everybody likes a little bit of closure. And we can just say match route equals blah. Oh, I do this. Skip that. So we'll have matched route here. Okay. And then here we'll have switch matched route dot type default console dot error invalid route type. So if I do that, I'll just say invalid route type, sure. But if I say case ignore, we can do this, right? So handle ignored route. Right? And it's basically just this. Boom. Return at the end here doesn't make sense. The request is invalid. Boom. So then we can just say return handle ignored route, and it'll be kind of like these. Request response follow URL. Boom. So we can do something like this, and if I do this now, respond. Where did I mistype response? Handle ignored route response. Boom. So then we have ignore, blah blah blah, ignore. Okay. But this should be a return within this thing. Okay. Yeah, the problem is this return just returns from there. And I wanted to have the closure because I figured I could handle the thingies better. The you know, don't have to double up on the variable names. That's fine. That's fine actually. So we have ignore and then invalid route type for vhost. So if we have invalid route type, we'll have throw error invalid route type, something like that. So now we shouldn't have hit the other handlers. Yeah. Okay. So, and the invalid route type is whatever vhost, right? So now if we do case vhost, right? And now it should just be this handle vhost. And we can even add that up there. So we can do add this console log. Boom, boom. Right? And then we'll just do return handle vhost, request response match route. Now, match route here is actually not correct. So the root handler handle vhost, vhost. So it's expected to be a string, right? If I do this, what happens? What? Okay, wait, what? Ciao, guys. The heck was that? Invalid route type. Type is vhost. Invalid route type vhost. Okay, why did it take so long? Why is this reload not happening? Okay, that gets the error, yeah, as expected. What I don't understand is why I'm getting all this other stuff here. These shouldn't happen anymore. Oh, because I'm not exiting from here. Yeah, we basically never want to hit this other code at the moment. So actually, we're just gonna do that here. Then we don't have to throw an error here. All right. So now what happens here? We get the server get, the match route gets output here. Let's forget about that for now. So we get an ignore, and we get a server get. Okay. Now, if I go and load the whole page, it should have a bunch of hits, and they'll all be these type, and it just works. Okay. So it's a little trickier to test some of the other ones because they depend mostly on domain names. Let's see if we can. Maybe URL redirects. Anything here that makes sense locally? Not really. So I basically have to set up a bunch of host files. But this is kind of the idea. And then we'll just have the other handlers, right? So we'll have the other types. So we'll have type HTTPS. So we have ignore, Acme, HTTPS. Okay, so we'll do ignore, we'll do Acme, we'll do HTTPS. Right? And then Acme is a handle vhost redirect. Oh. Against matched route. Wait. So for the Acme redirects, the only reason they're at the top is for the ordering, I guess. Because it works like a vhost. So I just put them at the top, I think. Okay, so it's exactly the same. I just put it at the top. So I don't actually, yeah. So I obviously don't need the other one then. This one we already taken care of if it's a string or a regular expression. In fact, that's this one, right? If key equals target or if it looks like a regular expression. Oh, okay, that's what I'm doing here. Fair enough. So we don't actually handle the Acme separately. In fact, we don't even need to have them here. It's just an ordering situation. Where is the vhosts one that doubles up the Acme, which is basically this one, right? Yeah. So the Acme doesn't exist as a category. It's just vhosts. Yeah. So that's just up here as an Acme. And doesn't exist here. Then we have HTTPS. And then I think we have the URL redirect handler. And I think those two are probably going to become the same as well once I figure out exactly how they function. Now, the HTTPS has that weird check here. We'll have to see if we can do something about that. If not, is HTTPS. Yeah. And in the meantime, URL goes handle, URL redirect, matchroot.handler. Now, HTTPS gets handled by 800 HTTPS, rather. Yeah, same thing. HTTP. So what I'm trying to get my head around is, can I match it against full URL? Because I don't think full URL has like contains the protocol. So if we do full URL and host name here, right? Yeah, full URL is not actually the full URL. Like request.url. Request. It's just that part. That one, that's probably not gonna work. Request. This HTTP socket is encrypted. Headers. Man, I remember struggling with that. I'm not sure if there's an actual way of just getting the bloody URL, which is ridiculous. That's not a thing that I can do. Alright, let's pretty print that. So if we can do this, we have refer, but that's not actually. So I don't know if node.js request get original URL. I don't know if we can get the original, because the original URL might not even be in the header, right? Because we're not actually getting, the HTTP header doesn't contain the full URL in the request, right? Like if we look at the raw headers here, it says request URL, but that's not what the HTTP header would look like, I think. Because that's a resolution thing. That's above the HTTP protocol. Yeah, well, it's particularly with Express, but we're not under Express, so. But request.url does not contain the full URL. Yeah, request socket encrypted. So we could add protocol. Just using, so it's actually literally is just checking for the protocol. Because I could do one thing, I could force an HTTP / whatever on each of these, and then just match again, and then have full URL be full URL including the protocol, right? Or I could have on the root a HTTPS true false flag kind of thing. Because, yeah. Okay, so first of all, I think these cannot be consts. These aren't gonna get modified. Right. Then we'll probably just do something like this. Protocol equals HTTPS. And then this would just be protocol / host name yada yada yada, right? And then that would look like this. I still don't understand why we have the slash here, the double slash. Because request URLs contains that slash, probably that's why. Is that gonna break stuff if I'm changing them like that though? Like, I'm not sure if I want to do that, if I want to maintain the existing functionality. So that looks more like the full URL that I'm expecting. If I want to load the whole page, does that still work? So that still seems to work. It loads all of these out here. Okay, so if we don't output these individually like that. So we get all of these like that. They match against what? If I don't have that, that makes it slower. I mean, 1.27 seconds, is that... I hope it's not route matching that's taken this time. I doubt the route matching is going to be the problem. I mean, in theory, that's it. And then this can just go into a config file. It's not too bad, actually. I mean, most of the transformations I've made so far aren't really changing anything short of this one. The hardest thing is the testing, because I need to test it with the SSL certificates, and oh man, that's such a pain in the ass. Like setting up functioning SSL certificates locally so I can test if the redirects work and all that. I might have to set something up with some subdomains on one of the other servers. Or I should just do it locally somehow. So for example, this is now the same as that. So this should be a like in order, or it's just handle. It's not really ignored route. It's just route error. So if I do this, right, and then I'll say here, handle route error, return handle route error, request response, and what does it want? It wants the full URL. The route error. Wait a second. Why am I not getting route errors here? So we just probably just sign instead. Where? This makes me nervous. This is wanting to update Node.js. I don't even know which of these this is coming from. Is this because it's inside Node.js? Yeah, but which one? Like, how do I find out which module that's coming from? So if I add test proxy, build test proxy. We do this here, node trace deprecation, right? If I say test proxy 2, and then I'll refresh that. HTTP proxy. Isn't that a built-in thing of Node? Can I check HTTproxy? I thought that was a built-in. npm http-proxy. Can I maybe just update this one? Version 1.18.1. It seems like I'm on the latest version, which is a little concerning. Can I search for deprecation warning? 2024. March 2024. Problem comes from Debugproxy, which is not maintained, and it hasn't been updated for 4 years. The lead team has decided for a patch. Jesus Christ. It's already pre-addressed, but there hasn't been a release in 5 years. And it would make sense to pin the commit containing the relevant change in the main. Meanwhile, to distribute explicitly by pinning the commit in the PR in the package. Patching would mean to introduce tooling and thus new patch package. Ah, this sucks. So, anything going on here? Ah, okay, so there's a maintain fork, refactor usage, proxy 3. Everybody seems to want this, but nothing does it. Nothing does it. It's the first request somebody made when I mentioned this library. This is fully ready to use in production. Please use it. There's a modern API converter, original Node.js, blah blah blah. All right, so can I just do an npm install of this? Npm http proxy 3. Is this not an npm? Support platform performance. Load tester, read on the local machine or local host, yada yada yada. Okay, so if I do this, I mean, this kind of goes out of the scope, but then we do kind of want to fix stuff like that as well. 5 years of not unsupport and non-support in something that I'm using a lot actually. So npm uninstall Debugproxy. And now, will it still run? Okay. Do I actually... Okay, it's HTTP proxy dash. Don't tell me they moved to the import syntax. No. Oh, maybe not. Uh-oh. Why is it just working? It's not outputting anything. which is a bit strange. Okay, it doesn't have that warning anymore. So if I just do this now, okay, because we don't have we didn't have node mon on that. Okay. All right, that's good to know, because that's actually something I think I probably have a deprecation elsewhere as well. Okay, so the next step is, can we get rid of some of these other ones? Handle URL redirects. So the URL redirects are things like, I'm coming in on one domain and I actually want to go somewhere else. Yeah, I mean, I'm also tempted to update the route handler to the one used at Simple Server, just so it's, and then I guess I might as well just use Simple Server. Have a more maintained piece of code behind the scenes, basically. It kind of does the same stuff, right? SNI callback, is that used? Maybe. Yeah. I have to look into that. The thing is, right now it's all it's all working, and it's this thing hasn't failed yet at all. Like, none of the issues I've had were due to this thing. That's the bloody workhorse. So I'm guessing the other step would be to move this into the external JSON file. Const config equals request what require, and this is gonna be proxy conf.json. Something like that. All right, so we probably want to have load conf, file name, try, boom, catch, boom. Config, boom, turn, console.error, loading config, file name, there. So if I do this, and then we'll just say load conf, and we'll change the config so we're not super lazy. Error loading config, blah 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 blah. So can we await require? Can we await require? This is often encountered when discussing asynchronous model loading and linting related to async await usage. Okay. I probably don't want to use require here, so I'll probably want to do fs.read file. File name, like that. Fs read file. Wait, do we have? FS promises. So we can do FSP read file. Path proxy conf JSON. Node.js read file from folder of current script. So can we do this and then path.join that? Is that gonna work? Is that gonna work? Conf pending. Wait. Buffer. TF8. Okay. So if I take this and put it into the conf file like that, JSON is probably not the right format for this, but it's what I'm familiar with, so I'm gonna work with that. All right, so then we'll have JSON.parse, boom, and then we'll have config equals JSON.parse, boom, and that's an array. Blah, 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 blah. Now where we're gonna put the routes? Okay, so we can just remove them from up here somewhere. So we can just do let routes, and then that's just an empty whatever, like that. So we can do this, and then we'll do routes dot push that. All right. So now the routes get loaded here. We can even have routes in here, that's fine. Like we can have predefined routes, that sort of thing. This is kind of all we need. Of course, we're gonna need to do a bunch of testing. We're still doing these separately, but really what I want to be able to do is this and this needs to become the same. And I mean, because they're just redirects, right? vhosts are just 502s. How are they 502s? Oh, on error. Is there something? Can I just request vhost? So, what if I do const handle v host error. And then request response rehost, comma error. I guess it's fine for this to return a function that takes error as an argument, and then it's just this, right? And then we can just do this in here. So if we kind of do that, the return at the end of the function is kind of pointless. We do want to pass these in. Oop. I mean, obviously we're not actually running it, so this is hardly a good test of it. But I kind of want to do this for most of these. And then most of this code will kind of just disappear. Like this we won't need anymore. This stuff we won't need. Hey, look at that. We're actually doing this thing. And without error, we've done that already. And then all this other stuff here just goes away. And then the final thing we need to handle is the certificates. So the config. Yeah, I guess the certificates are quite different. Certs, so we're matching host names here. Okay, fair enough. Key files, yeah, that's for the certificates. This goes away. This we need to handle. This is our new root handler. All the redirect stuff we should be able to, like, these are identical, aren't they? Are they identical? They look identical. They look very identical. These are the same. Yeah. So HTTPS is the same as www. And then URL redirect is very similar. All right. Yeah, I should have done this a long time ago. All right, I think I'm going to call it a day here because most of the testing I don't want to do on stream because I need to set up a bunch of local, what's the word? Local domain names and local host and all this stuff. And then probably I will try to put this into production on the new server, and then I've got to figure something out. I'll probably have to do like a bunch of subdomains that basically duplicate all the current functionality and then run them through here and double configure everything, and it's gonna be a bit of an annoying thing, but I think I got something here. It's not as, this is actually surprisingly well contained, the mess in this one. It hasn't grown as much. I've kept it independent from most of the microservices. I wish, maybe not. I wonder if I can handle the certificates in the same way. Maybe I should change this to whatever YAML or whatever YAML config format. YAML. No, just YAML parser. Yeah, I don't know if I like JSON for configs like that, because everything is dependent. Like the whole thing is one whole structure. You can't like handle things independently. I mean, is this maintained? Yeah, that's the friendly library, human-friendly data serialization standard. This library supports both YAML 1.1, YAML 1.2, commentator scale, parsing as much YAML out of it as it can. Whatever, writing comments in blank lines. Libraries released in the IRC, open source, yada yada yada. Is this maintained? Or should I just install it and cross my fingers and hope for the best? If I do that, trying to remember what the YAML format actually looks like. YAML ain't markup language. Yeah. What does the parsed YAML look like? That's the question, right? Is that the end of the playlist? It's supposed to be looping. Yeah, I don't know why it's paused. Continue. Sponsored by YouTube. Why am I not signed in anymore? Why? Why did you sign me out? I'm using this computer right now. Actively. This happens so often that it's just, I'll be in the middle of streaming and I'll get logged out of YouTube Studio, out of listening to my playlists, everything. The stream is still running, right? I hope. That's so weird. Why does YouTube do that? I don't understand. Right, let's just quickly create like a simple YAML file and see what that'll look like. So if I do parse and stringify port, so const YAML var YAML boom. Then we'll do a new file. Save this as proxy.conf. Like that. And then here, log await fsp.read file. We'll do proxy.conf utf-8. Like if I do that, path.join dir name, that, and that. Okay. And then we'll do YAML.parse. Not TAML. YAML. And comes back null. All right. Can I get an example? Roots. So if we do something like that, for example, root 1, boom. Oh, wait, if I save this, it'll reload that. Okay. Huh? What? What's the problem here? Tabs are not at line. Oh my god. YAML doesn't support tabs? Are you kidding me? YAML doesn't support tabs. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Oh, that's why. But then that's not. Yeah, oh my god. SSL config format. Is that not YAML? Is not YAML. Linux SSL config file format. What is the format of the Linux SSH config file format? It's not a standard format. Oh my god, why is AI so stupid? This is not what I'm asking. Yes, and what is it? So this is all just, they just happen to be the same or similar. So YAML is... it's not really that great. Jesus. Okay, the tab space is mixed in one file. So can we enable tabs? Can we enable tabs? Options. Sprint parse, do not ignore errors required by YAML. YAML with tabs. I mean, what a rabbit hole. Would you put tabs in source code? Yes, of course. %99% progress. That's who? It's so dumb. This is so silly. Nice, yeah. It's 2014. I don't even know why I'm reading this. So, you know what? Screw YAML. What the hell? What am I thinking? What am I thinking? We're gonna uninstall that instantly. And we're gonna not pretend we never thought about it. I always thought all those configs I'm editing are YAML. Now I understand why they're not, because that's just horrific. Yeah, we don't want that. So, let us get... We'll just do JSON. Frick it. It's not great. I'd prefer that without all the brackets and the extra JSON syntax. We don't really need that, but we definitely don't want to mess with tab-free with like spaces. Oh, I don't know, think about it. I'm gonna call it here because I'm rambling and my brain is stopped functioning. It's almost 9 o'clock, and yeah, it's late for me. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Well, I think only Keith was here. I need to do something to pep up my stream again. I don't think people are really here enjoying it anymore these days. GitHub just charged me 42 euros for my membership. All right. Yeah, everything's costing money. My server is currently almost 300 bucks a month. I really need to move things over to the more expensive one and get rid of the other ones because it's money down the drain that I don't have. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, guys. Catch you on the Discord, catch you in my emails, and catch you in the next stream. Thanks for hanging out. Bye-bye.